Hello everybody, this video is going to be on special relativity. I'm going to give a brief introduction to the topic of special relativity in this video. Right, so let's begin with the title. Why this is called special relativity, right? Because there is a qualifier there, special. Right, so it's actually the subject of relativity with a qualifier special there. Why there should be a special? So first let's deal with what is relativity, what relativity we are talking about in special relativity. Relativity is related to comparison of motions of objects in two different frames of reference, right? So let's first deal with the topic of frames of reference. What is frames of reference? Let us say a car is moving on the road. Now we say that the car is moving at so and so speed. Let us say it is going at about 60 kilometers per hour speed. With respect to what we are measuring the speed? The speed is being measured with respect to the road. So a frame of reference is the road. Therefore, what do we do to the frame of reference? We fix a coordinate axis to the frame of reference, right? So now let us say there is an observer who is standing by the roadside watching the car go past by. Now for this observer, the car is moving at this particular speed. Now what about the observer who is driving the car? For the observer who is driving the car, he would see that the person who is standing is going in the opposite direction with the same speed. So from his perspective, he would see that the other person who is standing by the roadside is going past him. If he is going at 60 kilometers per hour, for this observer, let us call him O. For the driver of this car, let us call him O prime, observer O prime. For him, this person is moving in the opposite direction with the same velocity, though he is at rest. So if you fix car as the frame of reference, for the car, the standing observer, the stationary observer is in motion. So we are able to therefore see that these two are equivalently valid description of motion, right? There is nothing like this observer is stationary and he is seeing the car moving, so only the car is moving with respect to him. So therefore we can say that no, this is the only possible motion. No, this is not the idea. So the topic of relativity, where does it come in here? When you want to compare the motion, then you have to understand that you have to talk about relativity. How do you do that? Let us say there is a rock by his side on the roadside. Now for him, the rock is at rest. So he defines the rock to be at rest, and let's say that he fixes a coordinate system onto himself, because that is his frame of reference. So you fix a coordinate system in your frame of reference, and he defines the axis x, y and z, and then he fixes the position for this rock by defining a set of variables. Let's say x, y and z is at so and so distance from the x-axis, so and so distance from the y-axis, so and so distance from the z-axis, and then he can also give a time coordinate t. So he will fix the position for this rock as per his frame of reference. Now for the observer who is moving, he will fix a frame of reference. Let's say he is moving in the positive x direction with respect to this coordinate set of coordinate axis. So for his frame of reference, he will have a set of axes, and then he will try to compare the position of the rock by giving a set of coordinates for his frame of reference. So let us call that x prime, y prime, z prime, because this is for the observer O prime. Now for the same rock, he will give a different set of coordinate axes including time, right? Now, the comparison between these two observers O and O prime, when we compare these two motions in two different frames of reference, then we bring in what is called the topic of relativity. So that is the idea or the subject of relativity. So you want to compare motion of observers in different frames of reference, right? Right. Now we have to come to the qualifier, special, in front of this relativity. Why this is a special topic? Why this was called as a special topic? Special relativity. For that to be understood first, we have to first discuss a bit more about the frames of reference. Basically, one can say that there are two different kinds of frames of reference, inertial and non-inertial. Two different kinds of frames of reference are available. Inertial frames of reference and non-inertial frames of reference. What are these inertial and non-inertial frames of reference? Very simple. Inertial frames of reference are those in which Newton's law of inertia is valid. What does it imply? Every object that continues to be in a state of rest or of uniform motion, unless there is an external force acting on it to change that state, that is the law of inertia of Newton. So those frames in which this law is valid are called inertial frames. That means generally those frames where there is no external force acting on it, such frames can be safely called as inertial frames. So what about non-inertial frames? Those frames where there is a force and therefore there is acceleration, such frames are called as non-inertial frames. So accelerating frames are generally non-inertial frames. For example, if you consider gravity is a force, and then when gravity is present in a particular reference frame, then you say that that is a non-inertial frame. It is not an inertial frame. So, but special relativity deals only with the inertial frames. Special relativity does not talk about non-inertial frames at all. So it's a special case of frames of reference it talks about. So that is special qualifier there. Now, general relativity proposed by Einstein 10 years later, 10 years after he proposed special relativity, he worked on to include gravity so that becomes more a general case, and that theory is given by Albert Einstein in 1915. That is general relativity. So this is a more general theory compared to this one. So this is special case of the general theory, so it's called special relativity. This is one reason why this is called as a special relativity. And because of this reason, the type of coordinates that we use to describe motion, this is the typical XYZ set of coordinates orthogonally perpendicular to each other. These three axes are, and such coordinate systems have a name. It is after the French mathematician René Descartes, and this is called Cartesian coordinates. Cartesian coordinate is a flat coordinate system. Please remember this. You know this flat coordinate system, and wherever you use flat coordinate systems in special relativity, and therefore this is called special, because a more general coordinate system is curvilinear or curved coordinate system. Curved coordinate or curvilinear coordinate system. So general relativity deals with all kinds of coordinate systems, therefore it is more general compared to the special one, which deals only with the one particular case of flat coordinates, that is Cartesian coordinate systems. So the space itself is considered to be curved in general relativity because of gravity. So Einstein proposed the concept of space-time. You cannot separate space and time. The space-time is intertwined very closely. They are linked. You cannot separate an event, for example, that is happening at a particular point in space from the time at which it has occurred. Therefore, the space-time is a concept that is very unique to the general theory of relativity, the special and the general theory of relativity. And there, when the space-time gets distorted or affected by gravity, the equations provided by Albert Einstein in general relativity come to our rescue, whereas here gravity is not considered in special relativity. Therefore, it is a special case of a more general case, and that's why this qualifier special relativity. So, further talking about frames of reference, the idea before Einstein was that there could be an absolute universal frame of reference. So this was Newton's ideas before relativity. So why the theory by Albert Einstein is considered revolutionary, such an important topic in physics? Why it is so? Because during Newton's times, the concepts, the ideas were completely different than what Albert Einstein proposed. So Newton's times, the idea was that the motion could be absolute. Why we say motion is absolute? Because you could fix a universal frame of reference and describe all motion that occurs in the universe with respect to that. For example, you can describe, for example, the motion of the earth by fixing a frame of reference to the sun. You can describe the motion of the moon by fixing a frame of reference to the earth, right? But Newton and the followers of Newton, even till the time of Albert Einstein, were thinking that there could be a frame of reference that is universal with respect to which all the motion could be explained. So motion is not a relative, whereas Einstein proposed that all motion is relative. There is nothing like there is a special absolute motion. All motion is relative. This is one of the important revolutionary understanding that was brought out by Albert Einstein. So this is motion is absolute, and therefore there must be an universal frame of reference. Universal frame of reference is possible, and that is initially thought that there is something called an imaginary medium. Nowadays we know that it is ether medium. So people were trying to prove the existence of a medium called ether medium, which was considered to be inelastic, which was considered to be it is an imaginary medium. This medium was considered to be invisible, present everywhere in the universe, and then even the earth is traveling through this ether medium around the sun, and therefore people are trying to even measure the drag, because of the viscosity of the medium, the ether's drag, people are trying to measure earth's drag on the ether. And then there was the history of velocity of light measurements, right? People were thinking that light requires a medium to travel, and then the medium in which light itself is traveling is this ether medium. So the famous Michelson and Morley experiment is there. Michelson-Morley experiment. Why this experiment is now important? The original understanding of this experiment was it was to measure the velocity of light. In fact, it was one of the most accurate values of velocity of light, speed of light provided by this experiment. But this experiment also tried to prove the existence of ether. How did they try to prove it? It's an interferometer experiment. So you try to send light beam in a direction parallel to the direction of motion of the earth, and then you try to send in the direction anti-parallel to the direction of motion of the earth, and then you try to measure the difference in the interference pattern, thereby detecting for the presence of ether. Because if the earth is moving in ether and you're trying to send light in the direction of the earth's motion and in the opposite direction, the relative motion between the speed of light and the speed of the earth, this difference has to cause a small change in the interference pattern for these two different directions, and thereby we will be able to detect the relative motion between the earth and the light speed with respect to the fixed frame of reference ether. So if that is detected, then ether is present. This was the conclusion, but this is a failed experiment. Remember, this experiment failed to detect the ether. So ether as a medium could not be established by this experiment. So this is a failed experiment, and therefore Einstein had this idea that ether is not probably present. So he had to now incorporate that as a major result explanation in his theory, and therefore he told that there is no absolute frame of reference, right? So no special frame of reference, no ether. This is another very important outcome of, because if ether is present, then you can fix every motion with respect to ether. You could fix a frame of reference to the ether and discuss every motion. Since that is not detected in this experiment and several other experiments, no special frame of reference. That means all inertial frames of reference are equal. So no special frame of reference. This was another idea, important idea, that was brought out by the special theory of relativity. So you can compare now Newton's and Einstein's relativity ideas. Newton and his followers had this concept of motion, that motion could be absolute and then there could be an universal frame of reference, whereas Einstein brought the very idea of all motion is relative. No special frame of reference. That means you could explain the motion of any object on this universe with respect to any frame of reference fixed to anything else. So there is nothing like any special frame of reference is there with respect to which all other motion could be explained. That's a very important understanding, and therefore because of that no special frame of reference exists. All inertial frames are equal. That is what this means. All inertial frames are equal. So when we say inertial frames, that is non-accelerating frames where forces such as gravity is not present. Such frames are called inertial frames where Newton's law of inertia is valid. So unless and until there is an external force acting on to change the state of an object, the state could be a state of rest or state of uniform motion. So that is the understanding, very important understanding that was brought out by Einstein's special relativity. So how did Einstein propose his special theory of relativity? In the form of two very important postulates of special theory of relativity. What are those two postulates? The first one talks about whatever we discussed in the previous this thing. So first one talks about the motion being relative. So all motion is relative. That is the essence of the first postulate. So there is nothing like a special absolute motion with respect to a special frame of reference. So all motion is relative. If we say all motion is relative, then you have no special frames of reference. That means the laws of physics are same in all the reference frames. That is the idea of this. Laws of physics same in all the reference frames. In all inertial frames. So any inertial frame is equivalent. What do we mean by this? Laws of physics being the same in all inertial frames. Let us say you carry out a physics experiment. Let's say you want to measure the period of a pendulum, time period of a pendulum. So you are trying to measure it, let's say in the laboratory, fixed to the earth. You measure some value. The same pendulum, if you carry it in another frame, for example a non-accelerating vehicle, right, that is also an equivalent inertial frame. That inertial frame is no different from the laboratory fixed to the earth. So in these two frames, all physics experiments you carry out, all laws of physics, everything is going to be the same. There is not going to be any difference. So if you carry out an experiment, a simple experiment, for example, the time period of a pendulum, you are going to measure the same value for the time period, no matter what, whether you are measuring in the laboratory, whether you are measuring in the vehicle on a road, or you are measuring on the spaceship or a rocket. But the object should be non-accelerating because it should be an inertial frame. So there should be no acceleration acting on that particular experiment. Under that condition, your laws of physics will remain the same wherever you measure it. So laws of physics are universal in that sense, right? So this is one of the very important understandings that we got from special relativity of Albert Einstein. And the next important, the second postulate is very, very dramatic because it surprised many. That is constancy of speed of light. Simply because Michelson and Morley experiment failed to detect the presence of ether and the velocity of light remained to be, let us call that c, 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second is the speed approximately for light in air or vacuum. This speed is same for any observer. So constancy of speed of light means this speed is the same measured by any observer. So this speed is not subjected to any relative motion. That is, this speed is not affected by a relative motion between the source and the observer or two observers. For example, you are having a torchlight. You are trying to measure the speed of light by shining the light and doing some experiment. A person who is traveling in a spaceship will also measure the same speed of light, of course, if the spaceship is an inertial frame of reference. If it is not accelerating, he is also going to measure the same speed. That is the meaning of this word, constancy of speed of light. So the speed of light is same for all inertial observers. C is the same for all inertial observers. This is the very important understanding that was brought out by this second postulate, which surprised many because relative motion from the Newton's times, the idea of relative motion and the idea of velocity measurements or the velocity detection based on that are all shattered by this. Why? Because from Newton's time till the time of Albert Einstein, for measurement of velocities, people were using what is called Galilean transformation equations. What is this Galilean transformation equations? A set of equations which can be used to convert coordinates from one frame of reference to another frame of reference. So let us say there are two observers trying to measure the velocity or position or acceleration of an object. Let's call that first frame of reference fixed to this observer is O, and another frame of reference which is moving relative to this frame at a constant speed, let us call that as O prime. So the new set of coordinates for this observer is x prime, y prime and z prime. If this is the case, and let's say that this observer is moving in the positive x direction at a speed u with respect to the first frame of reference or first observer O. If this kind of a motion is there, and let's define the position of a particular object at this point in space, let's call that P. Okay, so this object, the coordinates of this object can be measured by this observer O as x, y, z and t. For the same object, the moving observer, this O prime observer, will measure a different set of coordinates x prime, y prime, z prime and t prime. Now how will you convert or transform from one set of coordinates to another set of coordinates, or how will you compare these two sets of coordinates? And for that we know that we use Galilean transformation equations. So we write x prime is equal to whatever position that is measured by O is x for this object, right? And then since the O prime frame of reference is moving at a constant velocity u with respect to O, after a time t has passed, the distance of separation between these two frames is ut, and therefore if this is x prime, the x prime must be x minus this distance ut. So this is x minus ut. Y prime is same because there is no motion in the y direction, so y prime is equal to y. Z prime is equal to z. So these are the three equations. Of course t prime is assumed to be t in Galilean transformation. The time is same for both the observers. But then this is also going to change if you apply Einstein's special relativity postulates. Right, now what about the velocities that these two observers would measure? The velocities would be just differentiation of this, so it will be Vx prime is equal to Vx minus u. Vy prime is going to be Vy. Vz prime is equal to Vz. What about accelerations? Ax prime is equal to Ax. Ay prime is equal to Ay. And Az prime is equal to Az. So finally accelerations of these two inertial frames remain the same, that is equal. Therefore Newton's law of force is mass times acceleration is valid equally in both these frames of reference. That is the conclusion we can make from this one. That means this set of equations must be correct. That is the idea one would get, but that is not so, because here you can see that the velocities for ordinary objects, these equations are valid, but when you try to plug in for the speed of light, then you understand that the speed of light will be different for an observer moving in the direction of a light beam and moving in the opposite direction of the light beam. If that is the case, he would measure a small change in the speed of light using these set of equations. But Einstein mentioned constancy of speed of light as a second postulate, and therefore these set of equations cannot be correct. Therefore Einstein proposed that Galilean transformation equations are no longer valid, and therefore Lorentz transformation equations were proposed as the correct set of transformation equations for conversion or comparison of a relative motion between two inertial frames. So to compare and convert coordinates, velocities or accelerations, one has to use Lorentz transformation equations in special relativity. This is another important aspect of special theory of relativity. Right. Finally, I would like to conclude by discussing about the consequences of the theory of special relativity quickly. So I am going to discuss only three important consequences of special theory of relativity briefly, right, to conclude this introduction to the topic. So the first one is time dilation. You might be familiar with time dilation. That is, the time durations measured by two inertial observers in relative motion is not the same. That is, if one of the observers is, for example, at rest on the earth, the other one is traveling in a spaceship, the clocks carried by the person who is traveling in the spaceship, even if he is not let's say accelerating, even then his clocks would be slowed down because he is in motion. With respect to the observer on earth, if you compare the clocks taken by this observer who travel will have dilation of time, that is slowing down of time. All clocks, including biological clocks, are found to slow down because of the motion. This is one of the very important ideas. I'll post separate videos on each of these topics in greater detail. Length contraction. It is one of the other consequences of special relativity. That is, for an observer in one frame of reference, if he measures any length in another frame of reference which is in relative motion with respect to his own frame, he will measure lengths to be smaller than the actual lengths. This is the length contraction. So for an observer in motion, time actually dilates. For an observer in motion, length contracts. But in his own frame, the observer who is in motion, in his own frame of reference, he will not measure any contraction. But for an observer who is in relative motion with respect to this observer in motion, he will measure the length contraction. So that is the idea of length contraction. Length contraction is also called as Lorentz-Fitzgerald contraction or space contraction. This was originally proposed by Fitzgerald and later it was also further developed by Lorentz in 1879. But Einstein used it in its special theory of relativity, and he was able to justify that such a contraction would occur even taking into account the postulates of special relativity and the constancy of speed of light. So he was able to justify such a contraction. So this is one of the consequences of special relativity. Finally, our third consequence of special theory of relativity that we study here is simultaneity. What is simultaneity? Two events are said to occur simultaneously if they occur at the same time for an observer in his own frame of reference. But relativity tells us that for an observer in motion, relative motion with respect to a particular frame of reference, simultaneity gets affected. That means these two events which occur simultaneously to one observer will not occur simultaneously to another observer who is in relative motion with respect to the first observer. That is simultaneity. Of course, Newton's viewpoint, Newton's mechanics and Newton's viewpoint on simultaneity is that all events that are simultaneous in one frame of reference is simultaneous in all other frames of reference, because time is universal. This was the idea that Newton's mechanics gave us, but relativity proved that to be wrong. So simultaneity gets affected for various observers in relative motion with respect to each other. This is an interesting effect, which is also another consequence of special theory of relativity. Of course, I have not gone into great detail into any of these three consequences. That is because I am planning to post separate videos on each of these three consequences as well. So please do look out for separate videos on each of these three topics. Thank you.